all right, there's a lot to unpack with Greg's hometown.
So much.
Yeah. There's so much, and I'm still confused. And what's hard is like also to live tweeting the show during the beginning of Greg's hometown. I went like, hell yeah, Greg. I feel like this is working. Like I'm liking Greg. I didn't really like him before. I'm liking him now. So I sent out these tweets like being like, yes, Greg, normal guy. I like it. And then people are seeing those today and being like, oh my God, how could you? He's a manipulator. I'm like, okay, check the timestamp. Tweeted that at 9:05. Like, yeah. It changed very drastically, but his hometown felt really, really legit because he opened up to his family so much about his feelings for Katie. Like, it always kind of seemed like we weren't really sure where Greg stood, but I felt like it showed a lot for him to say to his mom, like, this is the one. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if you lie to your mom about that.
No.
You don't.
No.
I know you're on TV, but
still.
I know. I just think...
And he'd been saying that to Katie, too.
Yeah. I feel like he really built up this moment in his head, and when it didn't go the way he wanted it to, / like tried to pretend he wasn't on The Bachelorette, he like threw a hissy fit.
I have no idea how to feel about Greg.
I know.
I have absolutely no idea. And
yeah. I think I've decided I don't like him. Okay. I've come to that conclusion at the end of this, but
I just want to be as honest as possible. Okay.
Yeah.
So at first, at the beginning of the season, it was like, oh, Greg, he's great. But then we started getting, it was like the actor vibe. Does he just want to be an actor? Is he too good to be true? Then we had a very strong feeling he was going to leave.
Yeah.
So is this a whole play production to show that he really likes Katie, but then he actually really just wanted to leave, so he made it seem like it was because he really likes Katie?
But you wouldn't say you're in love with someone then.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say that.
Right.
He wouldn't have said I love you to her if it was all like...
Well, that's why I'm so confused, and I think Katie is acting kind of bizarre as well.
How did you feel Katie handled the reaction to like the group? The hometown date was ending, and that's when, he professed all of his feelings, laid it all out there, said, you're filling this hole in my heart. And clearly Greg has also been through a lot of trauma. Like, he totally has not fully digested the death of his dad. Mm-hmm. You can tell that's like having his brother be like, I don't even talk to him about that, like makes it feel like he has maybe some personal growth and some things that he has to get through himself. But Katie's reaction to that was, she didn't really know what to say, and then there was a silence, and then she was like, I just love looking at your face, and it was by far the worst thing she could have said.
That's what I mean, bizarre. Like,
she's like, I just love looking at you.
Yeah, I was like, maybe there was a part we missed there of that conversation or something.
Do you think they could have cut something out there?
I don't know, but I just don't think she would respond like that. Maybe she was just like shocked by the emotion.
Yeah, like I think sometimes, and from what we've watched, she closes up a little bit in these uncomfortable moments, and I almost feel like in her mind maybe she was panicking in like oh my God, this is everything I want to hear, like I want to tell him so much, and that's like why she froze, because it's like I can't even find the words, because like I'm still the Bachelorette and I can't just be like, yeah, I love you too. And she already made that rule for herself. She really tried to stick to it.
Yeah.
The rule of like, I'm not going to tell any of these guys that I love them while I'm still dating, and while I'm still dating other guys, while other guys are here. What did you think about that? Do you think that was smart of her or no?
I don't think I would make that choice for myself.
Yeah.
Just because like, I mean, with Claire and Tayshia's season, we saw that like, you can do whatever the heck you want. Like, you can make whatever choice you want. But yeah, I think I might not have made that decision, but I do get it. Like, she wanted to be respectful of the guys that were still there. Because like, even with Justin, though we might not see how deep their connection is yet, like, they still do have a little time there. Yeah. You don't know like how those things progress in the following week. So I get that, but I don't know. Maybe it would have like panned out differently if she hadn't made that rule.
I think it's a dumb rule because how are you
It totally
supposed
would have
to,
panned out differently,
Yeah,
I think.
how are you supposed to get engaged to somebody without telling them that you love them?
Yeah.
I would not get engaged to somebody if we did not exchange I love yous.
Right. To have the expectation that Greg or Blake or Justin was going to get down on one knee and say, like, will you marry me, without actually hearing the words I love you from her.
Choose one of them. Yeah. Right? Like, if you love one of it, or even
if she ran away with Greg in that moment, like,
fine.
The Bachelor, I feel like, would have been fine with it, because then they would have had the drama of, like, Caitlyn and Tayshia going to tell Blake and Justin, like, Katie's gone, Greg's gone, like it's
if
over.
She was like, you know what, I fucking love you, and he was like, I love you, and they ran off together. Great love story there. This is like, okay, you're not going to tell any of them you love them. Maybe you feel like you love all three of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at least let them know a little bit, because then they're afraid to say it. Because I feel like with Blake, when we saw the whole, like, he felt it, but he wasn't sure if he should say it, because I feel like he almost thinks, well, she's the Bachelorette, she should be saying it to me. Usually in real life, you're like, the guy should be saying it to me. Mm-hmm. It was a very confusing situation. And then, once again, how are you going to get engaged without saying I love you?
Yeah.
Because then what if you do get engaged, and then you exchange the I love yous, and they're not, like, as passionate as you thought they were? It's kind of like a kiss.
Yeah.
Or, like, having sex. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and he clearly was uncomfortable and devastated by the whole thing. He goes to Katie's room, the next day, so we are made to think. And he, like... And I said it during Cutting Stems, hurt people. And clearly he was hurt, and he did not like the way that conversation went. But he really didn't give Katie any chance.
And I felt like she was fighting. Like, she was fighting for it.
She was really trying to fight for it. And he, like, it seemed like he'd already closed the door. Like, he went on this whole speech and, not about the roses and the who's number one and all this, like, trying to make it like, this is real life. Like, I thought you were my person. And she seemed like she was trying to give it back to him, or at least hint to him, like, I know, like, you've always been my number one, but he just used everything that she was saying against her.
That's where I started to not like him.
Yeah.
That's where he lost me. Because I was like, all right, well, now you're just coming across angry.
Yeah.
And, like, she is kind of being like...
Yeah.
And he's just not taking it. And he didn't have to leave. No.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like... It's one of those, like, every couple or every relationship is going to have a bad interaction or fight like this. Mm-hmm. But if they had this bad fight, right, and he stayed, then maybe the makeup conversation would be even stronger. Mm-hmm. Don't you feel like that happens sometimes?
Yeah, totally. I think that it was like a switch for him, and it was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I think it's like such an emotionally taxing process that, like, once you're not ready to fight for it anymore and like fight through how tough it can be while you're there, it's just like you can't do it anymore. And I feel like he in that moment was like, I cannot cope anymore with this.
I agree with you, and I think that he, like, the whole like when he said, what am I supposed to do, like, just next get a rose, fantasy suites, make love to you.
I
like
was dying.
I was like, oh my god, this
when
is
he said make
I know.
Love
I was like, oh my god, make love to you.
Meanwhile, Justin's just hanging out with his besties.
I know.
Like, during this whole thing, it's just crazy to think about the fact that like there's two other guys. Blake, they have the connection. Justin, his best friends are
that. I know. When he said that, it made me realize that, like, this spiral that he just went on was going to happen at one of the other points going forward. Like, he was spiraling here. It could have happened when, like, he saw someone else leaving on a fantasy suite date. Could have happened when he thought, like, somebody else was looking at engagement rings. Like, I just feel like this panic attack and that he had in this moment, like, of I just got to get out of here, was very emotional. And it did feel like a really legitimate conversation that, like, a boyfriend and girlfriend has when they're trying to discuss, like, whether or not they should get engaged. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it felt
like
familiar.
Greg being like the one being like, okay, like, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to propose, and for the girlfriend to be like, oh, well, like, let's talk this out, and like, let's see, and the boyfriend's like, well, if you don't want to, I'm gone.
And that's what I mean by, like, if they had a follow-up conversation, maybe
they work it out.
Have sex in the fantasy suites, and it's like fireworks, and they're like, all right, let's work this thing out.
Or private time without the cameras in the fantasy suite.
I just think, like, it's so... Once that switch was turned for him, he was just like, I can't do this anymore, and I can't also, like, give my whole self to you.
Katie was on her knees outside, like, literally on her knees, like, holding him.
This was the heartbreak she was referring to.
Clearly.
This was the heartbreak she's been referring to in her interviews.
That was, I mean, it was really tough to watch.
How does she end up with Blake or Justin at this point?
I don't think that happens.
You don't think so?
She will.
If she does, how do we react to that?
This is what I'm telling you.
As consumers, how do we, like...
No, this is one of the most devastating breakups that this show has seen, and I compared it, remember, with when I was telling you and Trent, like, I compared it to a long time ago with Desiree and her, like, top guy going home, and it was this whole big thing, and you could tell that he was always the front runner, but she still got engaged to Chris, like, who was on the show. Everyone kind of thought he was just, like, the second choice, but they are married and have kids and, like, you know, have seemed to have had a happy life. But, like, that breakup between Desiree and Brooks was, like, not as what felt like dramatic as this is. For Katie to say, like, I told you to Greg's face, like, I told you, like, if you're gone, like, I'm done, like, I'm leaving, I'm not gonna do this anymore, and he still left. And that was also where I thought, like, I started to question his intentions, because when he was like, I'm leaving, and after she said that, he didn't even try to be like, leave with me.
But I'm just like, I just don't think the whole, like, thing that people are saying that Greg is, like, fake and he's an actor and all that. Right. I just, like, you would not tell someone you love them. Because imagine if Katie had been like, I'm in love with you too. Then... Yeah.
Right.
Like, there's no...
You got yourself in a pickle.
Right.
Yeah. You got,
I like your face.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
You got yourself in a pickle.
Yeah.
I just think, like, it's such... I can't even describe, like, how emotional that process is, that it's just, like, one tiny little thing. And, I mean, I guess to him it really did not feel tiny. Yeah. But, like... in that moment, he was just like, I can't give myself to this process anymore. Like, I'm too scared and I'm too, like, broken.
Do you think that he may have gone about his language the wrong way? Because I think even Katie on her Instagram story, like, posted a slideshow, like, about gaslighting. Because that's what everybody was saying, that Greg was gaslighting her. And even last night, Katie, like, added it to her Instagram story. It was like, you know, the Instagram account, so you want to know about...
Yes.
That was it. It was so you want to know about gaslighting. And it was like a whole slideshow.
What does it mean in that situation?
I think she was referring it to that sit down in the morning or whatever that was, of him trying to tell her how that interaction went, like she wasn't a part of it. You know?
Okay.
Like, kind of being like, you did this and you made me feel this way, and, like, not hearing Katie's side of it at all, and just letting it sit as, like, I did everything that I was supposed to do, and you didn't give me the one thing that I needed back, and now I'm just like, now I'm done.
I do agree that conversation, like, it was definitely, like, one-sided almost, in the sense that, like, Greg was not listening to anything she was saying in that moment. Yeah. Like, he had already made up his mind, it seemed like, when he went into that conversation, I can't do this anymore. And she was, like, fighting and, like, basically at that point telling him everything that he needed to hear, and he was, like, not responding to that.
I don't think he liked all the Bachelor lingo too. Like, I think he maybe got, like you said, so fed up with the process in the show that he was like, I don't want to hear about fucking roses or being number one or next week or fantasy
and you're
suites.
like, well, this is the show.
And Katie's like, I don't know what to do here. I'm trying to communicate with you that I want you in the words that, like, I'm allowed to use.
I feel like obviously, like, I think they were both kind of wrong in the situation in different ways. And yes, Greg, like, trying to explain to Katie what happened is wrong.
Yeah.
But I feel like in Greg's mind, maybe he got so worked up that he just convinced himself that Katie felt a certain way because he was upset by it. And that's how that was delivered. You know what I mean? Like,
also, nothing's
like, kind of
worse
like
than-
this is the way you feel, because in his head he's upset and he feels like that's what was done to him, even though telling somebody the way they feel and the way they acted is wrong.
Like you said,
and gaslighting.
that's like the worst. Somebody trying to tell you how you feel is one of the worst things.
It's terrible, but I've been in that situation.
No, I know. So
where
have
I'm
I.
like, you feel this way because in your head, your own insecurities are telling you that they feel that way, even though they don't.
Yeah, you're like, I promise you, I don't feel the way you're saying
exactly
I feel. But it just didn't get through to him. He really was out, and Greg's gone.